36, shots fired! Shots fired! We're at Family Dollar, shots fired! 8th Avenue!
So this story is going to make you question everything you think you know about police encounters, because what happened in Gulfport, Mississippi isn't just a tragedy, it's a complete nightmare that split an entire city in half. We're talking about a 15-year-old kid named Jaheim McMillan, a random Tuesday afternoon at a Family Dollar, and a split-second decision that ended a life and sparked a massive controversy. You have the police saying one thing, you have witnesses screaming something completely different, and right in the middle, you have a mother watching her son bleed out on the pavement while she's being handcuffed across the street. This isn't just a he said, she said situation. This is a case where the video evidence was supposed to solve everything, but instead it just poured gasoline on the fire. Let me set the scene for you because context is everything here. It's October 6th, 2022 in Gulfport, Mississippi. Jaheim McMillan is a high school freshman, just a regular teen according to his family. But on this specific day, he's riding around in a silver Kia Soul with 4 other teenagers. Now, usually, teens driving around is nothing to write home about, but things take a turn when a motorist calls 911. The caller tells dispatch that they saw a car full of masked people in camouflage waving guns at people on the highway. Now, tell me in the comments, if you see a car full of masked people waving guns, what is your first thought? Are you thinking it's a prank, or are you thinking you're about to end up on the news? The police obviously have to take this seriously. They're thinking they've got an active threat on their hands, possibly a carjacking crew or a drive-by waiting to happen. So the call goes out and every unit in the area starts looking for this silver Kia. The police spot the car pulling into the parking lot of a Family Dollar store. This isn't a secluded alley, this is a public parking lot in the middle of the day. The officer, Kenneth Nassar, pulls up right behind them, blocking them in. Now, in a perfect world, the car stops, the kids put their hands up, the cops figure out if the guns are real or fake, and everyone goes home alive. But we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world where adrenaline, fear, and bad decisions mix together like a lethal cocktail. As soon as the cop car stops, the doors of the Kia fly open. The driver and the passenger, Jaheim, bail out of the car. It's chaos immediately. You've got officers yelling, kids running, and everything is moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Here is where the story splits into 2 completely different realities. According to the police report that came out later, Jaheim gets out of the car holding a gun. Officer Nassar sees the weapon, yells at him to drop it, and when Jaheim doesn't drop it and instead turns toward the officer, Nassar fires. Boom. 8 shots. Jaheim hits the ground instantly. That's the official story. That's what the police chief stood up and told the media. He said Jaheim was an armed threat who refused to comply and turned his weapon on a police officer. Case closed, right? Justified shooting. But wait a minute, because there were people standing right there in the parking lot who saw something completely different, and their version of events is going to make your blood run cold. Witnesses at the scene, regular people who were just trying to buy laundry detergent or snacks, started posting videos and going live on Facebook almost immediately. One woman, who was literally right there, claimed she saw Jaheim come out of the car with his hands up. She said he wasn't holding a gun, he wasn't threatening anyone, and he was surrendering when the officer opened fire. Can you imagine witnessing that? Seeing a kid surrender and then watching him get shot anyway? This narrative took off like a rocket. People were furious. The community started gathering at the scene, demanding answers. The chant, "Hands up, don't shoot," wasn't just a slogan here. Witnesses were swearing on their lives that this is exactly what happened. So now you have a city at war with itself. On one side, the police are saying, he had a gun, he turned on us. On the other side, the community is screaming, he was surrendering, you executed him. And in the middle of this chaos is Jaheim's mother, Katrina Mateen. She gets the call that something happened to her son and she rushes to the Family Dollar. When she gets there, she sees yellow tape, police lights, and her baby boy lying on the concrete. She tries to run to him because what mother wouldn't, and the police restrain her. They actually handcuff her and walk her across the street, forcing her to watch from a distance while her son is lying there, bleeding, with handcuffs on his lifeless wrists. Yeah, you heard that right. After shooting him in the head, the officers handcuffed him. They said it's standard procedure for any suspect, regardless of injury, but to the community, it looked like the ultimate disrespect. It looked like they were treating a dying child like a piece of garbage. This is the part where you have to ask yourself, why does it always take so long to get the truth? For months, the police wouldn't release the body cam footage. They said it was an active investigation, they said they had to protect the integrity of the case, yada yada yada. Meanwhile, the city is protesting every single day. They're marching on City Hall, they're shutting down council meetings, they're demanding transparency. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Jaheim's family is living in this agonizing limbo, knowing their son is gone, but not knowing exactly how his final moments played out. Was he a threat, or was he a scared kid trying to give up? The difference between those two things is the difference between a tragedy and a murder. Finally, in February 2023, months after the shooting, the footage is released. And does it clear everything up? Well, yes and no. The video shows the silver Kia, it shows the officers pulling up, it shows Jaheim jumping out of the passenger seat, and it shows him running. In the slowed-down, enhanced version released by the authorities, you can see something in his hand. It looks like a firearm. The police freeze-frame the video to highlight it. They circle it in red. See, they say, he was armed. The video shows him running away from the car towards the front of the store. Officer Nassar is chasing him. Then Jaheim starts to turn, and this is the split second that decided everything. As he turns, the officer fires. The police argue that the turn was him bringing the weapon to bear on the officer. The family and their attorneys argue that he was running away and was shot in the back or side of the head while trying to flee, not while trying to kill. But the hands-up narrative that the witnesses swore by, the video makes that complicated. It doesn't look like he's standing still with his hands in the air, surrender style. He is definitely moving, he is definitely running. But does running with a gun in your hand justify 8 shots? That's the question the grand jury had to answer. And here's the kicker. The other kids in the car, they get out and immediately hit the ground. They surrender, and they survive. Jaheim ran, and he didn't. Does running away make you a target for lethal force? Legally, the Supreme Court says police can only shoot a fleeing suspect if they pose a significant threat of death or serious physical injury to the officer or others. The police argued that a guy with a gun running toward a store full of people is exactly that, a significant threat. They argued that he could have run into that Family Dollar and taken hostages, or started shooting inside. It's the what-if game. What if he did this? What if he did that? But the family argues you didn't give him a chance. You didn't give him a second to drop it. You just started blasting. The grand jury looked at all the evidence, the 911 call, the witness statements, the body cam footage, the autopsy report, and they made their decision. They found no criminal conduct on the part of Officer Nassar. No charges, no indictment, nothing. As far as the legal system was concerned, this was a justified shooting. Officer Nassar goes home, Jaheim McMillan goes to the grave. When this news broke, the city of Gulfport exploded again. Not with violence, but with grief and rage. It felt like a slap in the face to everyone who believed that, armed or not, a 15-year-old kid didn't deserve to die in a parking lot over a 911 call. What would you do if you were on that grand jury? Would you look at a kid with a gun and say the officer had no choice? Or would you look at the fact that he was 15 and say there had to be another way? It's easy for us to sit here and judge the video frame by frame from the safety of our homes, but in that moment, in real time, it happened in the blink of an eye. 1 second he's in the car, the next second he's dead. It's terrifying how fast life can end when guns are involved.
More police, stop! Stop! Stop it! T-36, shots fired! Shots fired! We're at Family Dollar! Shots fired! 8th Avenue! Get out of the f***ing ground! 217's northbound towards 8th Avenue. Get on the f***ing ground!
Blue shorts, gray sweatshirt.
Get on the f***ing ground! Everybody on the fucking car! Get out of the fucking car! Get on the ground! Is there anybody else?
The aftermath of this case is just as messy as the shooting itself. Jaheim's mother filed a massive lawsuit, we're talking $10 billion, against the city and the police department. $10 billion with a B. That's not just a lawsuit, that's a statement. That's a mother saying, you took everything from me, so I'm coming for everything you have. The lawsuit alleges excessive force, failure to train, and a cover-up. It claims the officer didn't follow protocol, and that the city is responsible for creating an environment where shooting a black teenager is considered standard procedure. Whether that lawsuit goes anywhere remains to be seen, but it keeps the story alive. It keeps Jaheim's name in the headlines. And let's talk about the other kids in the car. They watched their friend die. They were arrested, charged with aggravated assault because of the whole waving guns at motorists thing that started this mess. Imagine being 16 years old, going for a joyride with your friends, maybe making some dumb decisions with some guns. Real or fake, it doesn't matter in the eyes of the law when you're waving them around. And suddenly, your friend is bleeding out on the pavement, and you're in handcuffs facing felony charges. That is a level of trauma that doesn't just go away. That messes you up for life. There's also this weird detail about the guns. The police said they recovered multiple firearms from the scene. The family initially said he was unarmed. The video seems to show a gun, but even if he had a gun, does simply having a gun mean you deserve to die? In a country with the Second Amendment, where people open carry in Starbucks, where is the line drawn? The line is drawn at threat, and who gets to define what a threat is? The person with the badge and the gun. That's the scary part. The definition of threat is subjective in the heat of the moment, but the consequences are permanent. Real quick, hit subscribe because we cover stories like this that the mainstream media eventually stops talking about, but we don't forget. We dig into the details that make you uncomfortable because that's where the truth usually hides. One of the most heartbreaking parts of this story is the video of the mother, Katrina. There's footage of her outside the police station, screaming, crying, begging for answers. She's not being a political activist in that moment. She's just a mom who wants to know why her son isn't coming home for dinner. She talks about how Jaheim was a goofy kid, how he loved his family, how he had dreams. And then you contrast that with the police description of him as a suspect brandishing a weapon. It's like they're talking about two different people. And in a way, they are. To the police, he was a threat to public safety. To Katrina, she was her baby. Both things can be true at the same time, and that's what makes this so hard to process. The hands-up narrative is interesting because it shows how reliable or unreliable eyewitness testimony can be. That lady in the parking lot probably genuinely believed she saw his hands up. In traumatic situations, our brains fill in the gaps. We see what we expect to see or what we fear we saw. She might have seen him raising his arms to balance himself while running, or maybe flinching, and her brain interpreted that as surrender. Or maybe, just maybe, he was trying to surrender in that split second before the shots fired, but the officer was already committed to the action. We'll never know what was in Jaheim's head in those final seconds. Was he thinking, I need to get away? Was he thinking, I need to drop this gun? Was he thinking, I'm going to die? So where does this leave us? The officer is cleared, the family is suing, the community is still angry. Nothing has really been resolved except for the legal status of the shooting. It's another chapter in the long, painful book of police shootings in America. It's another hashtag, another memorial t-shirt, another grieving mother. And it begs the question, is this just the cost of doing business in a society with this many guns? Is this inevitable? Or is there a world where Jaheim McMillan gets arrested, goes to juvenile detention, learns a hard lesson, and grows up to be an adult? We robbed him of that possibility. We robbed him of the chance to make a mistake and survive it. Tell me in the comments, is the officer's reaction justified if he sees a gun, or should there be a higher standard before you take a life? Does the fact that they were reportedly waving guns at motorists earlier change your sympathy for the situation? It's complicated, fam. It's messy, and it's tragic no matter which side you fall on. Because at the end of the day, a 15-year-old boy is dead, and no amount of grand jury rulings or lawsuits is ever going to change that fact. This is the Jaheim McMillan story. It's not just a viral video, it's a real life, cut short, leaving behind a trail of questions that might never have satisfying answers. Stay safe out there, make smart choices, and remember that life can change in the blink of an eye. I'm Ray William Johnson, and I'll see you in the next one.